Hello everybody, welcome to Catherine Sews. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today I wanted to share with you how I'm going to recreate something I found when I was shopping. Now, as much as I love to support our local stores here in town, I was shopping one day and came across this black sweater vest, similar to this one. And it's just a long black sweater vest, and I thought, what a great wardrobe staple. I really wanted to buy it, and as much as I like to support local shops, it was $178, which is just like, that's just a step too far for me. And so instead, I went to the fabric store, and all I needed to buy was one length of a black sweater knit. So that was about 1.2 meters, or let's say about 1.25 yards, maybe 1.5 yards to be safe. So the fabric I got was this nice soft knit, and it's 60 inches wide, so that's why one length will do the trick. If you want it to wrap more around, like if you want it wider than 60 inches, you might have to buy 2 lengths of the sweater that you want. I have this long red cardigan, which I love, and I wear it all the time, and I did buy it locally, but I'm going to use this as my pattern and just eliminate the sleeves, make a nice deep armhole. I'll use the same kind of rolled collar, same patch pockets, and that's just going to work out so easily. And I think it'll make a great gift too, because there's very little fitting to do, and there's no buttonholes. There's not really anything you would need to adjust. And so it's just going to be a little bit of a wrap with the shawl collar in a vest. So I think it's going to be pretty quick and pretty easy. So let's jump right in. So I've laid out my fabric on the fold here. The selvages are over there, which I'll put the front over there. Right now I'm just going to trace the back, and I've got it folded as much as possible with the seam right at the edge. So I'm just going to trace around here. So I'm just tracing about 1 centimeter or a little less than 1/2 inch out from the seam line. I'll come back to the armhole. If you don't have tailor's wax like that, you can order it off Amazon. It's so handy. There's a slit on the red one, but I think I'll raise the opening to be about 10 inches. In that section, I don't want it to flare out at all because I think it would hang funny like that. So I want it to be straight for those 10 inches. And then I'd better put a hem on this. Just extend maybe 1 more inch past the red. I will just put a notch at the 10 inch plus 1 inch for the hem. So that's where I want the slit to start. So to do the armhole is the trickier bit. I had showed this in the video I made about tracing the simple top. It's the exact same thing where I'm just lifting up, peeking under, and tracing about a finger width away from that seam. I'll go about halfway here and then come up to the other side and come in this way. And if I've done a good job, I should end up meeting up with where I started at the bottom. And there it is, good. So there's the back, no problem. And now the front. So I think I'm going to cut this back piece first so that I can refold, like bring my selvages together perfectly at the front edges there. So there's the back. This whole front edge that goes right up into the center back for this shawl collar, that's all on a straight edge. So I'm thinking I might just try to use that selvage. Why not, right? So that's why I want to bring those 2 selvages together perfectly. Okay. When you measure the length, if you wanted to have that wraparound shawl collar, your length measurement would come from your center back of your neck all the way down. Okay, so I kind of have to manipulate the front around to get that collar. And I want to just keep like a thumb width from that selvage. I have to feel that I've got the edge just that inch away. So that's actually tricky too. I will not be able to trace it all at once. I'll have to do it in sections. So I can't get the collar flat yet. I'm going to come back to that. 10 inches plus the hem. This opening going straight. So again, I'm following the lines of the knit. And then I can just continue to trace around the front. Okay, so I'm bringing it back so that the seam is at my edge. That'll do there. Before I get up into that collar, I'm just going to put a dot or two for where the pocket goes. Good. And then this collar piece there. And it's basically just a right angle meeting up with that shoulder seam. And then cut. This is the wrong side of the fabric. I want to transfer those two dots for the pocket onto both right sides. Awesome. And the pocket is 5, but I'll add 1/2 inch seam allowance on both sides. So I'm going to cut the pocket to be 6 by 1/2 inch at the bottom. I'm going to leave a good inch at the top so I get a nice deep fold on the top. So that's 6.5, 7.5. So 6 by 7.5 inches. Actually, I kind of like the look of a band going across the top of the pocket. So I'm going to cut 2 bands that are the width of the pocket and whatever width that is. And then I'll cut the length of the pocket down. I think that would be nicer. I'll just cut 1 inch off the top of the pocket then. And I think I'll cut just a little strip of interfacing for these. So for my first sewing step, this is the front piece. There's the armhole, shoulder, back neck, and then this is the center back neck. And so my first sewing step on the main garment is going to be that center back neck. I'm going to sew these 2 pieces right side together. And I'm also going to prepare the pocket. So I just off camera, I went and interfaced this. My interfacing is light and soft, so I did the whole piece. A heavier interfacing, you'd only have to do half. And then I serged 1 edge, right? So if you don't have serger, no problem at all. Just finish your edge how you like to finish. You could turn a small fold and sew it down, or just zigzag your edge. With the pocket band prepared now, I'm just going to put it right side together with the pocket, and I'll be sewing here and here, right sides together. This is the serged edge, and I'm sewing the unserged edge to the top of the pocket. And with this kind of soft sweater knit, I think I'm going to be just fine with my regular needle and a regular stitch. That looks nice going across the top of the pocket. Yeah, I could run to the iron and press that, or I might just run a line of stitching right there. So that's nicely flattened out now, and now I'll just fold this serged edge down, so I'm going right sides together, and I'll just sew the 15 line or 5/8 line on both tops. So now it's like doing just a normal patch pocket. Oh, and when I fold that down, I've got the serged edge coming past my first seam there. Right, I've got it folded down enough that that serged edge is hanging below that original seam. So with those 2 sides sewn now, this is just like a regular patch pocket now. So I've just got my thumbs in there, jammed right into the corner, and poke out. You want your seam allowance in here to be laying flat, not bunched up in the corner. And I can take closed up scissors. I can just poke them into the corner to make sure that those corners are all the way out and pointy. With a patch pocket now, you want to just press this flat. Just want to give it a shot of steam across the top. Press in the sides following that same fold down from the top. And then fold up the bottom the same amount. And I'm really trying not to stretch across the bottom. There, I'm going to let that one cool like that while I press the second one. Good. So the band across the top of the pocket, I quite like the look of that. That looks nice. So I just want to now sew the band down just across the bottom of the band. So now I'm just going to throw a few pins right in here, right into the ditch of that seam, and making sure to catch my serged edge on the back. But now I'm going to be sewing in the ditch there. Alright, so the pockets are prepared, but before I put them on, I'm going to sew across that back neck section of the body. So I've been pondering if I'm going to be serging this or not, and I think, you know what I'm going to do? Zigzag these edges just down flat to hold them down and kind of seal them a little bit. I'm using a zigzag that's 3 millimeters long and 3 millimeters wide. So do you see what I mean? I'm not just zigzagging the edge, I'm zigzagging it down to the garment to kind of flatten it. Oh, I kind of like the look of that. Okay, so there are the 2 white wax dots that I marked according to the red cardigan. So I'm just going to place the top edge of the pocket to those dots, and the rest of the pocket just lines up with the lines of the knit. Easy peasy. I like to put 4 pins all poking toward the center. Good. And I liked the way that zigzag looked so much on that back neck that I'm going to zigzag the whole pocket on. It seems to me that it kind of just seals it in and makes it look more like it's knitted in. So ironing gets rid of my little white dots, and it also just sets the thread and sets the folds of the pocket. Isn't that nice? I like that a lot. I've never zigzagged a pocket on before, but I really like that. That looks great. Okay, so now I think the only tricky part of this entire project is sewing this back shoulder and neck line to the front. This shape here has to sew into this shape. So this is the front shoulder, back neck, front shoulder. So what we'll be doing, I'll be cutting into these corners to let that spread out around, and you can see how it can become the same shape as that back piece. On a knit like this, especially that's so loose, I definitely want to just reinforce those corners. So I'm just going to be sewing with a straight stitch at the 15 line or 5/8 line, pivot and come around that corner, and then the same here. So with my needle down, when I lift and turn, I should be back at the 15 line. If I'm not, I want to go maybe 1 or 2 more stitches and then try it again. And that looks better. I'm at the 15 line there, or the 5/8 line. That's all I need, just a little bit around both corners. So it might be super hard or impossible for you to see the stitching. In fact, I think it's super hard for me to see the stitching. And now I'm just snipping, just snipping toward that corner. And the same on the other. Good, so there's the back shape again. And on that back piece, I just want to fold the back neck in half and place a pin right at the center, so that I can take my center back neck, right sides together there. So you remember, this is the one that's that square shape that I just snipped into the corner, putting that center seam to that pin. There we go. Why we have to snip into that corner, so that this side can spread out around that corner and fit that back shape. The knit is very forgiving. You know, if this is a little longer, it's going to stretch and shrink and squish. It'll do exactly what I want it to do. The important part is that I've got my edges together here on the shoulder seam, as well as edges together across that whole back neck. So the other side now, that corner that I snipped opens up, goes around the corner. I'll be coming across the 15 line. I'll come straight to that point, which is a little cutout here, and then I'll pivot, come across the back neck, right up to the cutout here. Can you see that little cutout there? And then I'll pivot and come across the other shoulder. No problem. So edges should be together on either side of that cutout. See here, this inside, the underside is wanting to fold up. Don't let that happen. You always want to check the corners. They should look good, smooth, no puckers, no holes. Oh, do I have a tiny hole there? I'm going to go in. Can you see that? My little finger showing there. I'm going to go in and sew a little bit further in right there. Okay. That's got it. Alrighty, so you could zigzag that seam. I think I am going to serge it. Generally seams press toward the back, so these shoulder seams are going to press toward the back, but the section around the neck I'm going to press up. So it's actually going to do a little fold at the corner. And you know what? I might just zigzag over that. I just went and zigzagged these edges down of the serging, and I just love how that's just holding it so nice. That looks great. I just love it. Side seams. These seams are like very long, and the knit, it drapes heavily, and so these seams can get away from you if you're not careful. I'm going to be leaving that slit, which is quite a long one. There's my little wax mark of where I wanted the slit to go. Laying this flat to pin would be smart, and I don't want it to be tugging and pulling as I'm trying to pin this seam. I'll pin both sides and then sew both sides. Beautiful. Okay, so I think what I'm going to be doing is zigzagging this whole edge down. I'm not going to serge it all there, and my zigzag will continue down the slit. But I always think you get a better corner if you do the bottom hem first. So, and then that will fold in. I'll just get a nicer corner there. So I'm going to be hemming the bottom next. So normally I would just serge that and turn it up, but I'm really enjoying just zigzagging. So I'm just going to be folding up an inch and zigzagging it. I'll just fold a finger width on the two slits and then zigzag that edge, but I'll keep going past the slit right up the whole side seam. Now, if you think you might have to alter your side seams at all, definitely try it on and do that fitting before you zigzag down the side seams. Good. When I get to the top, I'll just turn around and go back down the other side. Okay, and then I'll do the same on the other side seam. Alright, I am almost done, and so I just tried it on again, and I have to say, I just love it. It feels amazing on. It's such a soft, drapey knit. While I had it on, I decided that this front edge that goes all the way down the front and around that kind of shawl collar, that is the selvage of the fabric, and I think I'm just going to leave it. I had intended to fold it down and zigzag it, but I don't really want to lose any of the collar. I would like the width of it. I'm totally okay with that fuzzy edge. I like it. So that's not going to get finished. I will, though, finish around the armholes now. That is all I have left to do. So I'm just turning a finger width around both armholes or arm size, and I'm going to use that same zigzag to hem all the way around the armholes. I don't like to pin on a seam like this or on a curved hem like this. I like to just shape it as I go. And if it doesn't look good, don't sew it. Just make it a nice shape. And then I'm just aiming my zigzag right over the edge. I find that if you spend a lot of time pinning, you still need to organize it at the machine anyway, so you'll just organize twice.
Okay, so it's all done, and I have to say I just love it. It feels so soft and nice. It just hangs beautifully, and I'll be able to wear it on a super casual Saturday like this, or dress it up a little bit for work like this or like this one, or I could even put it over something a little bit dressier to go out for dinner. So I think it's going to be really versatile. I think I'll wear this a lot. In fact, I think I'll wear it to work tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you saw how easy it is to trace something that you already have and make it into something that's completely different. So it was great to have you along for the ride today. Love to have you along for next time too. So make sure you hit that notification bell and subscribe, because I want to show you what I'm going to make next time too. So until then, you take care.